Here we go. This is one of the big topics. It's actually one of the main pillars of object-oriented programming called classes and objects. Now I'm going to break this down very simply for you. A class is simply a blueprint. What does a blueprint do? It allows you to create multiple instances of itself. So you'd have a blueprint, you'd use that blueprint to create some objects. And you could create as many objects as you like. So if I had a blueprint for a Bugatti, I could create as many as I liked, even though I could only drive one. But maybe I'll give you one. Maybe, if you're a good programmer. So all of these Bugattis are the objects created from the blueprint. They're the objects created from the class. So just think, a class is the blueprint, and a Bugatti is an object. Right, let's see what that actually looks like in terms of code. Open up your playground and let's debunk one of the most commonly struggled with subjects there is in programming. Let's create a class by simply typing class. It's that easy. This class needs an identifier or a name. Let's call it fast car. And open and close your curly braces. Notice a class does not have brackets because a class cannot be executed like a function can. Now, a class contains a bunch of variables or properties and a bunch of functions, whatever we need it to contain. So let's say we have this fast car and we give it a top speed of 155 miles per hour. So that's an integer. Right, let's say we wanted to get the middle speed of this car. Well, how would you do that? Well, we'd create a function and we would say get middle speed. And this function would take no arguments, but it will return perhaps an integer or perhaps even a float. Let's see what happens if you return an integer. And just to make it easy, let's make this 156. So, what are we going to return? Let's return 156 divided by 2. So, that should return. Now, there's something I should point out here. When you divide integers, there are no decimal numbers remaining. Just remember that. So, if you divided 155, you wouldn't have a 0.5. That's why I changed it to 156. And rather than having 156 here, I should actually say top speed divided by 2. That's my bad. Right, so that's a class. It contains a top speed property and it contains a couple of functions, perhaps one here to get our middle speed. Right now, it doesn't do anything by itself. That's important to know. So that's the blueprint. Let's create an object. Var Bugatti is equal to fast car, and then we open and close brackets, and that will initialize it. So what that does is it gets all this code, creates the object of fast car, and assigns it to Bugatti. Right? So if we wanted to get out the middle speed, we could say Bugatti dot get middle speed. So whenever we create an object, it obviously inherits all of these things that come inside of the class or the blueprint. Right, so that's not all. We can create another car. We can say var Ferrari is equal to a fast car. And we've created a Ferrari. And we can get the Ferrari's middle speed if we so wished. And of course, it's the same because we've defined it. Right, so we can create millions and millions of objects if we want, all based off of a single class. And can you see how that's going to be really useful when we start to create our more complex programs? Having a class that defines a thing or a sort of subject that our app tackles allows us to organize our code in a very neat and precise way. Okay, so a Bugatti is actually faster than a Ferrari, but at the moment they both have the same speed, and we've got to correct that. The way we're going to do that is when we create the object in fast car, we're going to pass over a variable for the top speed, because they all have different top speeds. It's ridiculous to have the same one for all of them. This isn't the communism of cars, if you like. So the way we do that is by coming up to our class, and there's this very special function called init. And look at Swift, it says this is the initializer declaration. Now this is a function that fires whenever we make a new fast car. So inside of here, we can pass over a variable. We can say, I'm going to pass over top speed, which is going to be an integer. Right? So I've passed over top speed. How do I get this top speed into here? And more importantly, these are the same names. How come it's not getting confused? Well, it's not getting confused because it knows that this variable only belongs to this little bit of code. It's only within this scope. If I came down to my function here and I access top speed, that top speed corresponds to this one. And if I hover over it or click it, you'll notice how the top speed, right at the top, gets highlighted by Xcode, but the one in init doesn't. So that's important to know. So let's make this top speed equal to this top speed. The way we do that is by saying self. Self refers to the current instance of the class or the object we've just created. Self.topSpeed is equal to top speed. And trust me, Xcode knows what we are referring to. Now this top speed, we don't need to define it anymore. We can just say it's simply an integer. And we should be sorted. Now when we define our fast car, we actually need to pass over the top speed, which is maybe 210. And that works. And let's pass over the Ferrari. And maybe that's 155. Okay, maybe it's a bit faster, but let's leave it as is. So there we have it. Our middle speed for the Bugatti is now 105, which is half of 210. And the middle speed for the Ferrari is 77. Now remember when I said that integer error was lurking? There it is. 77 times 2 is what? 154. Where did the 1 go? That's because when you divide 155 by 2, it gives you 77.5. But because an integer can't handle the point, it just drops it. It doesn't care, doesn't give you a warning. So you have to watch out for that. Right, so just a little quick review, because this is quite complicated. You create a class as a blueprint. You create an object from that blueprint. Then that object can access all of the properties, all of the functions inside of the class. You can also pass over some variables into init, which fires every time you make a new version of that class. And then you can assign those variables into the properties of your class. So don't worry if you don't understand that right now. You don't have to, because we're going to use classes all the time. Everything in programming is done with classes. Congratulations! You made it to the end of this video, which puts you in the top 10% of my viewers. For each one of you, there are 9 others who didn't make it this far. That perseverance you've shown means that you're much more likely to succeed as a developer. Now, to help you on your way, I want to give you the next part of my iOS course completely free. No trials, no credit cards, instant access. Simply click the link below the video to ensure that you don't miss out.